Welcome to the Health Chat. Today, Rick and I are going to dive into the latest health and wellness topic of sarcopenia, or like muscle wastage. And that seems to be something that is quite important to me personally, because I don't know about anyone else, but I have noticed a very big shift in the way my body feels and how it looks when I'm waving to my friends goodbye. And instead of just my hand moving from side to side, I've got this lovely sagging muscle that is also waving. And
Isn't it called the bingo wing?
is that what it's called?
Yeah, bingo
I
wing.
hated it. And so I started to investigate, well, how can I prevent this from accelerating? So Rick and I are going to focus on some really interesting ingredients in the supplement space to help in sarcopenia. So hi, Rick.
Yes, and the good news about this, Vicky, is it's going to help with toning as well and strength and hopefully energy also, along with, helping you with your weight loss goals as well. So there's a lot to this podcast that goes a little bit beyond just muscle wastage. But before we start, we have to say, you know, and talk about lots of supplements, lots of a couple of different therapies, but it's very important if you are going embark in taking anything that we recommend that you consult with a healthcare practitioner, and especially if you have any underlying health conditions or take any other medications. So look, the first place we have to start with addressing muscle wastage or muscle loss is, are you getting enough protein? Are you getting enough good quality protein in your diet? So we have to look at 1 to 1.5 grams of protein per kilo of body weight. The upper end if you're getting older or you exercise more. Now, you want to make sure you're getting good protein sources. You can get them from legumes if you're following a plant-based diet, for example, or animal sources, of course. Now, if you're not meeting that goal of 1.2 to 1.5 grams per kilo of body weight, then you might need to consider protein supplements, like protein powders, or you might need to look at amino acids. Now, we've got both in our range, and we also sell individual amino acids as well. So if some that Vicky and I are talking about today really strike a chord with you, you can buy them individually, or you can buy them as part of the protein powder. But first of all, I want to talk about a branched chain amino acid called leucine. And this one is important because it's really one of the most critical ones for muscle health, overall muscle health. So we want to look at it in the context of aging and sarcopenia, and it's effective at triggering muscle protein production and helping the body with the whole process of building new muscle tissue. So it acts as a little signal, which makes it essential in maintaining and building muscle mass. Now, let me just qualify. When I talk about muscle mass, I'm not talking about bodybuilding muscle mass unless you want it to be. These things will help with bodybuilding. I'm talking about the regular person, so that muscle is healthy, the body is healthy, you look more toned, you can burn fat more effectively, and your overall energy is higher. That's where I'm coming from. And then I want to talk about also isoleucine and valine. Now, they're also two other branched chain amino acids. Now, they're not as potent as leucine in stimulating muscle protein production, but they are important for energy production. Now, without energy production, we can tell you exercise, which you're going to do to help with toning and lean muscle mass, but without the energy, you're not going to get there. Without the energy, you're not even going to start. Without the energy, you're probably not going to go out and buy the product or go see a healthcare practitioner. So that's very important to get that energy there. But the isoleucine and valine also help with regulation of blood sugar levels, which I think is great because that helps also keep those energy levels steady without those dips, and then you don't go home and crash on the couch and not do your exercise that we're going to ask you to do. They also do work through muscle repair and growth as well. As another one that I'm talking about is lysine. Now, lysine you might know a lot about because of cold sores. We use it a lot to help the prevention of those, but it's also important for the maintenance of muscle tissue and recovery from muscle damage. So if you're exercising, you essentially are damaging the muscle a little bit when you're exercising with weights, and that's how you get that toning. Now, I don't want to scare everybody by saying that you're damaging the muscles, so maybe damaging wasn't the right word, but you get my gist. In order to get that nice toned muscle, I would show my biceps, but they used to be toned. Now they look a bit more like sultanas, which is a little bit sad. But I will say, Vicky, when I exercise on the weekend, when I do my little cardio down in the park, when I do my resistance bands and I do my weights, and I don't do more than 5 kilos, as you can tell by this Tarzan type chest, um, I look better on the Monday and Tuesday, and I always feel better. I do find it harder with work to get extra
Mm,
sessions in it at home, but I'm trying during the week to get back to that 3 or 4 weight bearing exercise at home if I can. But if I take the amino acids or the protein powders alongside with the workout, I'm going to get a better result. I'm going to get a much better result with skin health as well and brain function, etc. So the list goes on. And the other one I want to talk about is methionine. Now, you know that you probably heard us talk about it a lot if you've listened before about detox, and methionine is important in that process in the body. But it's also, because it's a precursor to cysteine and taurine, it's vital for muscle health, and it helps with tissue repair and repair of damaged tissues again. So as you get older, that's going to be very, very important for you. Now, I'm going to move on to one of my favorites, which is creatine. I used
mm,
to lecture in natural sports medicine in London years ago, and I stayed a lot away from creatine because everybody thought that it was just for bodybuilders, and it is because it's got a certain degree where it attracts some water and it can help your muscles look bigger. But by itself, creatine has a role in the body with aging, and we talked about that in our anti-aging podcast or our Aging Well podcast. But also in in the world of muscle wastage, it's very, very important. So it's going to first of all enhance energy production for you. So it makes sure that APT is regenerating and is used in muscle contraction. So you'll be able to lift more, run faster, do all that sort of jazz if you're interested in that. But it's also important for endurance. So you do need endurance. So a lot of long distance runners will use it. A lot of people who are lifting weights. But for the regular Joe or Josephine, it just means the maintenance of muscle mass and maintenance of muscle function as you get older. So I'm going to put my mum on that. She doesn't know it, but I've started doing more exercise with mum. She does little exercises at the table, and we're going for regular little walks around the street where I hold her hand, bless her. And it is a nice time because we get to hold hands as she walks. But I'm getting her on some resistance bands, but she takes some protein now, and I'm going to get her on some creatine after the research for this. Now, creatine will increase muscle mass, but that's more about toning, and that muscle mass uh, decreases the muscles from kind of shrinking and getting all withered like my biceps. Yeah. It will help us also to use protein more effectively and the amino acids in the protein to build the muscle that we want. I think I touched on this. It will reduce muscle degradation. So as we get older, we don't want the cellular pathways that lead to muscular atrophy getting activated all the time, and creatine will help downregulate those. And this is what I love about this one. It's improved functionality, so it helps you with your movement, and will also, that means better balance. And that's very important as you get older. I was at, again, with my mum and a doctor yesterday, and she gave me a really sad statistic of older Australians. If they fall, and the mortality following on from that fall made me sad, and made me realize again with mum that she can't pick things up on the ground without me around or without having some assistance. That creatine is going to help you reduce that risk and a greater ability to perform the daily activities that you need to and are used to. Better quality of life, really. God, I'm selling creatine so well. I feel like going having a teaspoon of it right now. It's going to help you with both aerobic and anaerobic exercise. So we talked about creatine a lot, and for those reasons. I'm not going to go into all the research because there's a lot out there around training and resistance training and training with bands, etc. But the enhanced effect on creatine for older people in muscle strength and muscle mass is very important. And I'll end with saying, if you're into those individual aminos, creatine is formed of three of them, and it's arginine, glycine, and methionine. There's my creatine spiel over
there's
and
your,
done.
yeah. You know, I I'm really interested in this space, in the protein space, because, I have noticed I need more of it now that I'm getting older. And I think that there's a lot of misconception when we look at the protein powders, and there's a vegan source and there's an animal source. And I thought I'd quickly just talk about it and, jump in at any time, Rick, if you want to add anything. But I mean, when we compare the two, the discussion often centers on their amino acid profiles, particularly the essential amino acids like leucine and methionine, as well as any other amino acids like lysine. I mean, most vegan sources are quite low in those. And so it's important to compare apples with apples. I mean, you look at WPI, or whey-based protein, animal-based, and the absorbability, bioavailability is very high. In the vegan, it may not be as high, but it's important to consider that it contains the other elements that you need. And I found that in the vegan space, one that is particularly beneficial is one called Sarcocare, which is from Orthoplex White. So if you're a pracky and you want to provide a full protein source to a patient that is very high nutritionally, I'd suggest a Sarcocare, because it does have something called, and I do hope I get this right, it's called beta hydroxy beta methyl butyrate, or HMB. And this also has creatine. It's made also with some pea protein for the wider scope of the amino acids, but it tastes like chocolate for, compliance. And it is a very well-known and well-regarded formula in the vegan space, but it's specifically designed for muscle health. So, and it's called Sarcocare. So when you think about those words, that's what it's for. And if you're looking for something in the retail space, Protein Supplies Australia, they have both a whey protein isolate or animal based, and they also have vegan proteins, which are high in branched chain amino acids. And they also sell creatine powder separately, which is also vegan, so you can add that to your protein powder. But there are many more in this space. I know Rick has a couple of favorites.
Yeah, I do. I Neutral Organics do a thriving family protein in a vanilla and a strawberry, which I rate highly, just because of compliance and because it's got that safety across the family. And also the Amazonia do some specific different forms of protein for your different goals, whether they be fat loss or muscle. We've got an array of them. We've got some very good protein formulas, and gone are the days that protein, I think, supplementation was just for bodybuilders, and we're realizing now, where we said in other podcasts, for hair, skin health, muscle function as well. But for this muscle, I like to use that term wastage or atrophy. That can be very, very important. And with the vegan ones, as you said, whilst the straight vegan protein may not have, unless it's something like quinoa, may not have all of the essential amino acids that you need. You look at one that has the combo of the proteins, or you do something like we were talking before we made the podcast, and Vicky always adds in some nut butter. I add in some good oils as well. And with the vegan one as well, whilst the whey proteins have some very good research at whey protein concentrate and isolate in sports performance, etc., and because said with the bioavailability, with the vegan ones, you're also getting the array of those phytonutrients and other things that make it more of a whole food, which is pretty good. So you've got those options there. We've got something for everybody. If you're trying to particularly, gain some good toning, a good tip with the protein powders is to have them within 30 minutes to an hour after exercise. Now, that's not going to turn you into a bodybuilder, but bodybuilders will follow that formula as well. So you might like to have them for breakfast or for dessert, or if you're doing a little bit of training, a little bit of a workout, you have them directly after the exercise, and body will uptake them and help you with your muscles. You can see good results with protein powders within a month. I really love them as well, because the other benefit of protein powders are that you're going to get benefits with weight loss, blood sugar regulation, decreasing cravings. So they're one of my favorites. I've talked to them about them now for about 20 years non-stop, to tell you the truth. And I'm such a fan, and they've improved over the years. So far, I started off my journey when I used to work with Pharma Foods with Isaway back in the day, and then watching it all go through the evolution of the protein powders, and now, like you say, with all the other little additives like the creatine, and was it the be the
HMB,
butane, uh,
HMB.
yeah, which is popular in the keto world. So now you get something specifically. Many of them, some of them have mushroom powders
Mm.
for adaptogenic properties and herbs in them as well. So really a great choice that we've got for you there.
You know what? I'm not a huge protein powder fan. Like the concept of drinking food doesn't appeal to me, but I love protein bars. And I tend to
Yeah.
go because I like the whole idea of chewing. I think that's my how I feel satisfied that I've had something to eat is I need to physically chew. And so I'm a huge fan of protein bars. And sometimes it's hard to find ones that you like from the supermarkets. So I do use the Botanica Blends peanut butter formula because it tastes so
Mhm.
good. And you can
Mhm.
add other bits and pieces, like other amino acids from, I think it's Healthwise do a really good range, and you can just add
Mhm.
them and make your own protein bars. They're so delicious, or protein balls, you know. But let's move on to vitamin D and its role. And I know you've done heaps of research in this space and you found something quite interesting, I think.
So, of course, I'm going to have to mention vitamin D as we do almost in every podcast because it does so much. We know about mood, we know about immune function, but you may not know that it also has a crucial role to play in muscle health and function as well. So, it really helps with the production of muscle proteins. It
Mm.
helps with growth and repair, which is what we want as we age or as we're doing less exercise. And it works through its action on the receptors in the muscle tissue. So they're activated by vitamin D and they stimulate the growth and repair. And that's actually something about vitamin D that I didn't know. You think I call myself a vitamin D expert, but who would believe I didn't know it? So that one I missed. But also we've talked before about the cellular health role of vitamin D and its role in mitochondrial function. Now, stay with me on this because the mitochondria is crucial for energy production. So when you have energy production that's dysfunction, it's a component of sarcopenia. So adequate vitamin D levels are very important to ensure the muscles can produce the energy they need for growth and repair. I hope I've been clear enough with that one, but that's about the best I can do. Vitamin D also helps us with calcium regulation,
Mm.
and the calcium regulation is very important for muscle contraction. So all in all, it's a vitamin to really look at if you want to help with muscle wastage, if you want to get a good overall muscle health. But a key one which really galvanized my support for vitamin D even more is that it reduces muscle inflammation.
Mm.
Now, when you've got inflammation, you get accelerated muscle loss, and the vitamin D has the anti-inflammatory properties that help to down regulate the inflammation and therefore stopping muscle degradation. So I was really happy with the research that I had a look at around vitamin D and muscles, and maybe one that you don't know so much about and that you can include. You may be taking it for winter anyway, and knowing that it might help with muscle weakness.
Yeah, look, I have to say that last one was really new for me. That,
Mm.
and I did read something about a piece of research in elderly Korean adults. So what they did was they found that population group that were at higher risk of sarcopenia, and they did find that those that supplemented with high levels of vitamin D actually had a much better result in the long term. They did mitigate
Mm.
all of those risks associated with age-related muscle loss. You know what though? Just like for you, vitamin D is crucial to every podcast. For me, it's the polyphenols.
Yes,
I'm a
yes.
huge polyphenol, even though I am a carnivore, I'm huge in this in the space of polyphenols. We can't forget about antioxidants, and really with age and oxidative stress, these do contribute to muscle degradation. So that's why we need the antioxidants to get rid of all these free radicals that are going crazy in our body. And the most obvious one, of course, is vitamin C, but vitamin C plays a much deeper role. So yes, we know it's a great antioxidant, but what it does is it helps to reduce the oxidative stress specifically in muscle cells. So, we're thinking about muscles and connective tissue. We've got to think about, well, what sort of foods can we incorporate? And we all know what they are. But, I was talking to my dad and he said, oh, Vicky, I need something with vitamin C. I'll just go and get an orange. And I'm like, Dad, kiwi fruit. What, don't forget the humble kiwi fruit. It's in season for a reason. That's my motto. It's in season for a reason. So he's like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. So, going for the kiwi fruits, going for the dark capsicums, the red ones, they're always higher in vitamin C. Vitamin E, and you know what? I think vitamin E is having a bit of a resurgence. I feel like it was left by the wayside in the 80s and now it's come back in full force. There's so much research in vitamin E, and because it's a lipid soluble antioxidant, it does help to play a crucial role in protecting the cell membranes of our bilipid layer. So we do need that fat associated with an antioxidant, and the vitamin E definitely is that. And it does seem to help with reducing the risks associated with the peroxidation of that cell membrane. But my all-time favorite, polyphenol, which I'm a big advocate for Japanese knotweed, and I've been taking it for a long time. But it doesn't have to be that. It can be any fruit and vegetables, and you can get really good antioxidant formulas. I know Herbs of Gold do a really good, I think it's called resveratrol. Resveratrol?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that's a really good formula. And in the practitioner space, I know there's quite a lot that Orthoplex do. They also have a very good resveratrol formula. But, you can go for so many things. If you just hop on the website and you type in resveratrol or antioxidant, it's just there's so much available. But I like the ones that have a combination. And I've just started taking, just by fluke, I've started taking something by the Age Hack, and it's a powder. So it's got collagen and it's got 4 or 5 different antioxidants. And not only have I found my skin looks really good, so if you're watching me, you probably will see that my skin looks a little bit different to the last podcast, but I also feel that my joints don't feel as stiff and my muscle pain has seemed to be alleviated. So I think it's that combination of the fat soluble vitamins and the fat soluble and water soluble antioxidants.
And Vicky, all these things come up over and over again. And I remember when I was studying all those years ago, sometimes we break everything down, don't we, into a reductionist, that this is good for this and this is good for that. And we only think vitamin C is good for the immune system, and we only think St. John's wort's good for stress. But they do so many other things. And when you throw in the whole foods and you look at the herbal tinctures, and you're getting a tincture with so many other things in it, it's so amazing the array of things it does to the body. And it's almost like they're all working as adaptogens in some way. For lack of a better word, they're not really adaptogens. You know what I mean? So many different mechanisms of action that we're seeing, and that's just from one thing. So you may be taking something for one vitamin, mineral, or phytonutrient or tincture, and getting all these benefits of all these other things that you think, oh, you weren't expecting. So it's often why we see such good results from those personalized herbal tinctures that are made up, and even the ones you can buy across the counter that have 3 or 4 different herbals in them, and whether it be the tincture or the tablets, they can be so powerful. Which segues me nicely into a couple of herbs. And again, through the research, I wasn't actually expecting to come in this sphere, but I'm wondering, one of them in particular, ashwagandha, has certainly, had its time in the media and in the spotlight for a long time. And so therefore we do more research and we find out more about it. And so it has primarily, the adaptogenic effect. So it helps the body cope with various stresses. And of course, the stress is going to be aging on the muscle tissue. So we don't want that. So the ashwagandha will help with muscle strength and recovery. It can enhance muscle mass and strength, which is exactly what we want. And this is a good one too, potentially by boosting testosterone levels, therefore helping with muscle growth and repair. So it's a nice one to have. And again, you may just think of ashwagandha just as being stress and not necessarily helping your muscles. It's wonderful how it all comes together. It also has a role in the reduction of muscle damage. Now, there's also something called creatine kinase. It's an enzyme that indicates muscle damage. And ashwagandha can help to reduce that, which is exactly what we want, those levels reduced, especially following strenuous activity. So that suggests that the herb or the botanical itself might have a role in improving recovery. So if you're doing more hard exercise, it may be one that helps you, certainly help you with sleep and recovery as well. And of course, the last area, and I touched on in the beginning, is that stress reduction. if you are helping to control the cortisol levels, you want that because the high cortisol levels can result in not only many aging effects, but the muscle breakdown. So it's really, really beneficial to the body to reduce the effect of, or sorry, reduce the risk of sarcopenia by getting your stress under control, and ashwagandha will do that. And then the other one was Panax ginseng, and I like the ginseng family because they give you energy, they help with stress again, so they're going to do all those things I just spoke about with the cortisol and creating energy. But the thing with the energy is, if you don't have the energy and we're telling you to move, you're not likely to move, are you? And so we want that there to enhance energy production inside the mitochondria itself. So therefore helping muscle endurance and performance. And then we were also talking before about inflammation. It has anti-inflammatory properties, which we want, which help protect the muscles as well. And also some nice hormonal effects. So you want to look at the influence of ginseng on hormones for muscle maintenance, testosterone, and human growth hormone. So they were, two herbs that sort of stood out when we were looking through what can help you. And as always, you listen to the podcast, and maybe you take away 3 or 4 things if muscle wastage or exercise or toning is what you want. You can choose 3 or 4 things and that resonate with you and give them a try.
Great rundown on those 2 herbs. And I have to say that I think it is worthwhile that people invest in going to a herbalist, because I did, and it has profoundly changed my life. I have this specific antioxidant mix, which is my DNA/telomere health mix, and I have quite a lot of antioxidants, and I've even got one of the ginsengs in there just to give me that little oomph, so I have the ability to just get through those tough times, especially if it's demanding on me. Yeah, I think herbs are great. And who would have thought that me myself would be such a herbal advocate? Because I was like, no, but now I'm like, yes, actually, yes, it really does work. And I don't know how you feel about this, Rick, but maybe we should talk very briefly about exercise, because all of this is great, all of these wonderful solutions, but if we don't exercise and we don't use it, we lose it, right?
Yeah, look, it's a primary thing to do, and it's sometimes easier said than done, isn't it? And that's why we focused so heavily on the aminos, the tinctures, and the vitamins and minerals that are going to help with energy production. And we talk about mitochondrial energy production, which gives you energy production, which you want. But it also helps you with the mood to be able to exercise, because it's all very well to say, everyone tells us, eat your 5 a day and do your exercise, but you're not in the mood. If your nervous system isn't up to it, it's hard to exercise, isn't it? So we always recommend in the podcast that you start gently, but more importantly for muscle, nothing new here, what I'm going to say, but for muscle gains and toning gains, we want resistance training. We do want you to have some small weights. We do want those resistance bands or whatever other thing creates that little bit resistance. Even if you do, and I know you're a fan of this, just your body weight. And there's lots of stuff out there on the internet where you can follow different very easy or harder routines. But you'll notice the reward from the exercise with muscle toning, and it's not just that you'll see the toning on the outside. It's what the muscles are then doing to the fat burning, what the muscles are then doing to the mood, what the muscles are then doing to immunity, what the muscles are then doing to the cells. So again, that flow-on effect happens. But if you can't do 10 minutes every other day, do 3. Start off with that. It doesn't have to be anything that is too high a mountain to climb. Being smart with exercise, you can knock it out in 20 minutes. You can get up to 20 minutes 5 times a day. And if you do high intensity interval training, you can certainly get some great results from short, sharp bursts of exercise and following high intensity interval. And then if you don't like that, you want something which is LISS, which is where you go low intensity, slow and steady. You get benefits of that of walking as well. So lots to choose from exercise, but don't forget about it, because your muscles, you can take all the products, but without the exercise, your muscles aren't going to get to their optimum level. And when you get older, even more need to keep moving, ironically, to keep the joints going, to keep everything going. So there's a little bit of pain there. Often that little bit of movement can help with a reduction of that. But again, check with your GP and your doctor before you embark on the exercise program that it's right for you and it's not going to exacerbate any underlying condition.
Yeah, well said. We've covered a lot today. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast for more health tips and discussions. Until next time, stay strong and healthy.
Bye.
Bye.